Welcome back to the News at 10. Today is the International Women's Day to celebrate women the world over making a difference in their communities. This year's theme, Make It Happen, Empowering Women, Empowering Humanity, envisions a world where each woman and girl can exercise her choices, such as participating in politics, getting an education, having an income, and living in societies free from violence and discrimination. Our next report examines efforts by Nigerian women towards empowerment despite the odds.
On women must elicit commitments to action.
It all started in 1995 in Beijing, China, when thousands of women across the globe gathered to seek the protection of the rights of women and inclusion in socioeconomic development. 20 years later, the day is still being celebrated globally to reawaken the consciousness of those in authority to up their games in championing the cause. But what does the celebration of the International Women's Day mean to the likes of Mrs. Okeke, who has taken to the repairs of generators to make ends meet? She struggles through thick and thin to cater for her family.
I've been housewife complete almost 4 or 5 years, but I sell firewood. You can't go. I roast corn. You can't go. I do many things women can do, but it's still no green. But I think I look at this generator, people doing it, and how they are doing it. I say, make I follow them, enter into this generator repair. I am doing something man can do. I can pieces the generator and couple it back. I can do everything because I like it. I like the way people are doing it. Give me a loan. I can find shop because here now they say here is road. They want to demolish here. I can find shop, do it in a big way. Even though me too, I am going to school.
Efforts by government in Nigeria to ensure the inclusion of women in governance is said to have yielded success, with about 35% of women occupying key positions in various ministries, departments and agencies, but leaving the menfolk vying for more positions in politics. Besides active involvement in politics, the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development is seeking the passage of bills that would protect the Nigerian woman.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill, the Sexual Offences Bill, Gender and Equal Opportunity Bills. To stop the impunity of this kind of action, we are hopeful that this month will also witness the passage of Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bills as the Senate Committee on Human Rights, Judiciary and Legal Matters during the public hearing held a few days ago gave us able assurances that the bill will be passed during the 7th legislative session.
According to experts, closing the gaps that exist in making women bring their potentials to the fore also begins with a commitment to improved budgetary allocations for issues that affect women.
If governments would only put in place systems and mechanisms and investment and resources to address the empowerment of women, empowering humanity, picture it and make it happen. We're not just picturing it, we want it to happen.
With more than 70% of the nation's women still living in rural areas and unable to get medical, educational, or economic empowerment, many say that harnessing the potentials of women should be seen as a top priority, both at the global, national, and local levels.
A call for women to be more relevant in all spheres of life, particularly in politics, has again been re-echoed. A group of women protesters in Lagos today demanded that 50% of appointed positions be given to the gender, since the elective positions have been taken already by men. Our correspondent, Loretta Chogo, reports that this is in commemoration of the International Women's Day.
The inscriptions on the placards are explicit. This is in commemoration of the International Women's Day in Lagos. All these protesting women want for the Nigerian woman is to be more visible and heard.
I'm following the result of the primaries of the parties for the 2015 election, we are going to be having lesser numbers. Now that we have failed to achieve elective positions, affirmative action should come in, and women should be given 50% in appointive positions all over the nation, both at the federal, both at the state, and both at the local government level.
The case of the over 200 missing Chibok schoolgirls is what these women cannot but talk about. They say the government must ensure the 2015 election is not again postponed, while insisting that the process be successful and violence-free, as women and children are always the worst hit when violence erupts.
We are still awaiting the rescue of 200 plus Chibok girls, which we have cried over and over for their divine rescue, even if it will take everything Nigeria has to bring those girls back home. Next month, by April 14th, it will be another 1 year. Imagine 1 year of young girls in the captivity of terrorists. What would have become of them? They would have become sex slaves, they would have been indoctrinated, they would have been enlisted into different forms of terrorism. Those girls, even if they are rescued now, they will not come back the same.
There are some laws, international and regional laws, that has been ratified by our government. We want them to be domesticated, like the CEDAW. And also the Child Rights Act, we want it to be domesticated here in Nigeria, because with this, it really gives women a sense of belonging. And we are also here to say that we want violence against women to end.
In Nasarawa State, the day coincides with the graduation of over 300 women and youth from skill training in bead making, hairdressing, computer literacy, amongst others.
I will also use this medium to thank the present administration under the able leadership of His Excellency, my beloved husband, Omar Tanko Al-Makura, for the support you have given to women in your government. But like Oliver Twist, Your Excellency, in absentia, we are asking for more slots for women in your next 4 years, inshallah.
This year's theme of the International Women's Day is Make It Happen. Perhaps a strong message to the feminine gender to fire up the struggle for equality and relevance. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
Joining me now on this International Women's Day is Mrs. Leila St. Matthew Daniels, a social activist in gender issues, especially as it concerns domestic violence. You're welcome to the News at 10. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, women have been demanding more. Women have said they need more. Do women deserve more?
Yes, they deserve more. Like we always say, women are the nucleus of a society. And before we go on, let me read some statistics very quickly. It says that women represent 50% of the world's population. They perform 2/3 of the world's workforce, and we can bring it down to Nigeria. Yet they receive 1/10 of the world's income. Now, again, they own 1/100th of landed property. And you know, when women have to go to seek for loans for a lot of things, they want landed property. And you find that that is what holds them back. So in total, they represent 70% of the world's 1 billion poorest people. And that is what we just heard. A lot of the women are in the rural areas. There are about 70% that are represented. And unless women are empowered to be able to look after themselves, because when a woman is empowered, it's not just the woman that is empowered. She looks after the home, she looks after the extended family. So you empower a woman, you empower a nation.
Who's empowering the women? Is it the men or fellow women?
Well, empowering the women, it depends on what you're talking about, because there are a lot of activities going on to empower the women on ground. Like I can talk about Lagos State. There's a lot of vocational training for women that once they are trained in various aspects of that makes up the cottage industry, they're able to look after themselves and look after the home. In some cases, the men, if they're fortunate enough to have spouses who would assist them,
You know,
they will do that.
The reason I ask that question is because there are women who are in positions of authority, women who have been given the opportunity to serve either country or serve on board of organizations and so on. And yet there are other women who find it difficult, yet they find it difficult to bring up other women to the same positions that they are in.
Well, I was at a workshop on Thursday, and this was one of the things that we spoke about, that women must put, women in positions of authority or women who have attained a certain level must be willing to, empower women to come up to whatever level they want to be. But you find that a lot of women find it difficult to do that. And like I say, it has a lot to do with psychological issues, competitive issues. You find that men have the tendency of this camaraderie of assisting one another. But with the women, we still need to cross that, that border of where I have to stay by myself, because if I empower another woman, there is a tendency that she might come and take my position. So it's something that, as a life strategist, I try to assist women to go beyond that.
And while we were talking before we came into the studio, you talked about a study that you're conducting, and you're trying to find out if this behavior is actually in a woman's DNA, or this is a characteristic she probably learned while growing up.
Well, I did say that I'm trying to conduct a study if it's in a woman's DNA, because you see, the woman protects her territory. You see, being the nurturer, being the one that actually looks after the home. She's the, as I said, co-creator. She's the one who carries the seed. So she has to protect her boundaries. And so I'm saying to myself, is it because of that they find it very difficult to allow another woman to come in? Because there was a women's leaders conference that I attended about 2 years ago, and this same topic came up. And some women in, let's say, very good positions said they have tried it once or twice. And when they now brought in the woman to be able to assist her to get into the system, the women sometimes go around and try to get their own position. You bring a woman into the home, she might take your husband. You know, all those trust, it's lack of trust. But you see, when the woman knows herself, is confident with herself, she won't bother with all that, because I know a lot of women who mentor other women, and you find that these women are very confident people.
Okay, and that really is a message that we should take home today, that women need to find themselves.
They need to find themselves, and they need to work with themselves. They need to assist themselves and promote themselves, because men do this very easily. You know, you put two men together, they don't know themselves, and before you know it, they have talked so widely. But put two women together, if they are not of the same class, it's very difficult to find that they have bonded.
That's where we will leave it tonight. Thank you so much, Ms. Leila St. Matthew Daniels, a social activist in gender issues, especially as it concerns domestic violence. She joined us here in the studio in Lagos.